This is Tommy's first time here in Face. Tommy's company is Hedge Fund Telemetry, and he's a long short fund manager. So, Tommy, the world has
Yes,
changed.
I
The
am.
world has changed since we last talked. We had the red wave. We
Yeah,
had
I'm
all
just
that.
checking a couple things as we get look here, as you guys are
Okay.
probably too, because that's what
Yeah.
we do. So it looks like the Trump uh, job cuts will probably kick in next month, and that was the big question that people had. Jobs data is compiled both surveys, the unemployment rate and the non-farm payroll on the 12th of each month. So it was probably a little too early to tell with the government cuts. So we'll probably see, a weakening number, but the implied number, the implied move for today, vols were so high, and I think we were looking for like a 1.7% move on the S&P. That's really, really high for a jobs number. We'll see where things go. We're not at the I'm just watching cues here. We're not at the highs. And one thing I do, which I was it was drilled into me from my old fund manager, the PM that I worked for. I was his trader. I look at the VWAP levels from important data releases. So, for example, I'm looking at the VWAP and I'm just calculating it on Bloomberg here. So Q's VWAP is 491.48,
You
and
want
it's
to show it?
currently go on.
You want to
Daily said
show?
something.
Oh, I wanted to ask you if you wanted to share your charts, or you want me to go around to the asset
I
classes that
you
you're
know
talking about.
you know what? I've got a lot of stuff on my screen right now.
Okay. All right.
I'd rather not do it, but I'd rather just chat.
Okay.
So like for so and I will be, and what I used to do is I used to just constantly on Bloomberg, update the VWAP level. So what 491.45, and it's currently at 490.58 right now. So you're trading below the VWAP. So you had like an initial spike higher. If you get above that VWAP level, I think you have some upside potential. That is kind of what I'm watching, and I'll
And
refresh that
and
to
those are
death.
the cues. The cues you're talking
That's on the
about.
cues, and I can do it on the spies as well. Hold on. Stand by.
What made you such a believer in VWAPs, Tommy?
It's just drilled into me from my old portfolio manager, and I tend to look at it, and I'm looking at the overall markets right now, the equity markets, in the sense that VWAP levels are sort, volume weighted average price,
Yeah.
and it's like looking at where people are positioned and the amount of inflows that occurred after the election, and then even more so with retail piling in after the inauguration was extreme. And if you have a lot of people that are above those, the current price, those people tend to start to feel trapped. And if you break down at those levels, if you break down to lower levels, those people become more motivated sellers. And so I'm watching that right now, and I think that's generally how I'm looking at it. So Qs right now, or sorry, spies, the VWAP from the second of the release is 575.60, and the current price is 574.37. So you're not really seeing the push through on the upside that bulls would really want to see. So that is
Yet.
that is how I'm
Yet.
watching things right now.
It's early.
It's early,
Early
yeah.
in the day. Yeah. Um. So you have a long short fund. Uh, what were your shorts in the last month or so? You could probably just throw a dart. There were a lot,
I always like to
Nvidia.
talk about my losers that didn't work.
Okay,
I
let's talk.
actually, I will say, just looking at my my current portfolio exposure, I have probably the highest level of cash I've had for quite a while, and I for hedge fund telemetry, we put out several notes a day, and I have a model portfolio with trade ideas, and it's had a very high level of cash, and the reason for that high level of cash is because of the volatility of an escalator up, elevator down type equity market. And that's what we've been seeing, uh, well, probably since December when things really started to get, more in tune with what Trump was coming out with. And all these, you can have an official from the administration come on TV or Trump and knock things down or spike things higher fairly quickly. And I just don't want to have people get whipped around. And it's too hard for me to be going, giving people ideas back and forth. If someone misses a note, they're going to miss perhaps a trade. So I'm trying to stay in tune with the larger exposures. I am short SPYs and Qs. I've been short for a while. I added to some yesterday. Uh, think because I took some off recently, also low. So I have a full position, 5% each, SPYs and Qs. That's my maximum weighting exposure for each position. So I do think we're going to break lower. Today, I don't know. It's hard to tell. I think that the risk remains on the downside, especially just thinking about positioning. And you guys trade Forex, you guys know positioning so well of where people get trapped. And Dale, you and I talked last. One of the things that I was really concerned about is the yen strength versus the dollar. And I said my big level, I mean I had a 151 level. You were a little higher to be the concern
52.
level. Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
52.
I said, 149 and change was another level that was a DeMark generated number. And the yen's blown through that. And I find that to be a concern because, again, just going back to positioning, if you remember the carry trade unwind, it wasn't
Yeah,
just,
in
oh,
August.
it's just, it's not, yeah, it wasn't just the currencies in your world that were being affected. It was all it exposed the concentration and positioning, overcrowding in a lot of US tech and mega cap because you saw these things get absolutely murdered. Perhaps that's just sort of another, you know, precursor to what we have coming up here now. And I don't think that one of
Do
my
you think people are as leveraged up? I mean, they've had plenty of time to unwind the carry trade. In fact,
Yeah,
from the
that's a
panic
good
low, they had all this
yeah,
time.
that's a good point. I don't think people are as the I don't think the I was talking to one of my friends who works for a large macro fund, and he's probably one of the best I know. And he said he's been long yen, but he doesn't see it being like a real panic. I do think it could be, damaging and maybe more contained as far as the downside for the equity market. But then
Okay.
again, I don't know. And I think that the longer we in the equity market we stay below those big levels, and many of the indices and stocks and sectors are below the election levels, so that is a real clear indication that people are trapped higher. One thing I am not a Forex trader as you guys are, and I have super high respect for what you guys do because you guys are, you're juggling, chainsaws live every day, it seems, and you do
We
it
wear
pretty well.
gloves. Gloves.
Well, no mistakes. But the point is that I think that you're going to see, like I'm looking at the DeMark indicators for Euro USD, and I see it on day 11 of 13 on the upside. So I think you
Okay.
could have some pullback, or the DeMark 13s are not necessarily you're going to have a big giant reversal the day after you get that, but it could level off here with
Yeah.
the recent move. And I recently shorted. I know you asked me what I was long and short. I've been long China internet, and Alibaba
Nice.
has been a big position, and K-Web. We had call
All
spreads
right.
on
All
K-Web.
right. So
Did
let's
great.
talk about that. I think a lot of it has to do with the dollar break. Okay. But, for 20 years, all the money's been coming here to the US. And we all know Germany had to step up and yields are going up there. And that's why the euro rallied. So I heard that this is a shift that hasn't happened in about 20 years. And it's just starting. That foreign markets, even emerging markets, you like Asia, are going to outperform U.S. for quite some time as money flows out of here and into international markets. Are you a believer in that?
I I think that there's so much money out from foreign countries outside of the U.S. that are still in the U.S. I think if the U.S. catches a cold, Europe and Asia could get pneumonia. And a friend of mine mentioned that line to me yesterday, and I 100% agree. I think they'll possibly outperform.
Maybe.
I think the China Hong Kong trade is a little extended.
Yeah.
I've cut some exposure. I am short the FEZ Eurostox 50 ETF, and
Okay.
I will
That's
say that
contrarian. Contrarian.
yeah, and there's
There's
daily
Baba.
DeMark exhaustion signals on the Eurostox 50 and the 600
Yeah.
on daily and weekly, and the weekly signals, and I posted these on X and the daily and weekly for Eurostox 50. And I think those will probably come in. They're harder to trade. There's less liquidity, obviously, in Europe, and I'm not necessarily a believer in that. I think that if the US catches a cold, you're probably going to have some bigger problems around the world as well. I have been long
Okay.
copper. I like copper. I like copper miners. That's been one that's been good. I started buying uranium stocks a little bit early, but they've been already down a lot. So I liked those. I'm short a little Costco. I'm short a little Broadcom as well, which isn't working
Okay.
today. I like to
Okay.
talk about my loser, the ones that don't work as well.
Yeah.
I'm
So
short Apple.
as far as your short Apple now,
I'm short Apple here. I think it's expensive. It's been sort of a hiding place and great company, overvalued. Stock doesn't really want to go down much.
you know,
I've
yeah.
been short Affirm Holdings, the buy now pay later. I just took some gains on ARC. Uh, I was short ARC. I was short airlines. I took some gains there. And it's been actually a pretty good year because the portfolio's up over 3%. The S&P is down.
I like the Apple trade, Tommy. I'll
Yeah,
tell you
it's
why. I'll tell you why. Uh, you know, uh, you know, Google got killed, and Amazon got killed, and Meta got killed, and Nvidia got killed, and Microsoft. Look at Netflix, everything. And I think the lesson coming in Apple, for people that are buying it as a safe haven, is that it's not a 90-day T bill. Okay, it's
yeah.
very, very crowded. While there's been liquidation in some of these other ones, and I'm actually thinking I'm going to have a chance to get short back above 150, 250, 150, 250 on it in
Yeah,
the
it's
coming.
possible. I mean, the problem with Apple from a fundamental point of view is that they don't really have any growth.
Yeah,
And they just came out with a touted new cheaper phone, and they've always had a cheaper phone, but this phone's not necessarily that cheap. It's just $200 less than
yeah.
the normal iPhone 16. And they've had a hard time selling stuff in China. I don't
Just
see
wait.
that changing.
Yeah, it could get worse, Tommy. 6 years ago, they saw there could be problems with production in China when the first round of tariffs. So they
Hmm.
diversified into India. And after 5 years, 6 years, they've only been able to move over about 18% of their production there. So they come up and they say, well, we'll 500 billion to build a plant here and reshore. It takes 5 years or a decade to even get things going, if they get
Yeah.
things going. So,
Yeah, well, that's a issue that a lot of these companies that are going to try and reshore that the the issue they're going to face is obviously the cost increase with labor. They're going to have to deal with unions. There's a lot of things that they're going to have to deal with,
uh,
but I
people
mean the
forget. Yeah, go ahead, Tommy.
they've done a pretty good. I think Tim Cook, I give him credit because in Trump 1.0, he was the first and really the only tech CEO that went and met with Trump and created a détente or sort of partnership, and that was informative for Trump 2.0 for a lot of these CEOs to bend the knee and tell him what a great hair he has or whatever, what a great
Well, he,
president
he
he
should
is.
have been bending the knee in front of Xi, because
Yeah, well, he has.
Xi already several years ago, at least a couple, said that government employees can't use iPhones, and Xi isn't going to be intimidated by President Trump. All he has to say is no more iPhones for anybody.
Well, that they've been really more there's a lot of China competition for phones, and they're not they're worthy competitors, and there's a real nationalistic tone in China to buy
Yeah, that's
Chinese
what I mean.
goods.
Right.
So
Everywhere now.
let's just review back to the VWAP levels. I've recalculated the SPYs now at 575.06, and it's trading at 573.60. So you're
Yeah.
below that level there, and that always is a bit of a concern on Qs. 491.02. And it is trading at, hold on, I have all my amphitheater screens here, so it's gotta look up 489.61. So you're below that as well. If you get above that, sometime after the open, and usually you'll get a big volume spike on the open as well. But I think that that is going to be important to cross. And what I'll do is for everyone, I'm on X, and I'll post a VWAP level chart with SPYs and Qs for today's action and
All right.
other ETFs.
But
But I will
besides
say I'm block I've locked my account, and it's because I can't take all the impersonators, the spam. Dale, we're just fools. We should just be giving our money to these people that turned $500 into $70,000 in 3 hours. I mean, that's what they're offering people out there, and we should just, why are we doing what we're doing? We should just give away our money to these people in India or China or
well,
wherever they are, and
I
have
well,
them
I think
turn
we
us
ought to
into
give our
bazillionaires.
let senators and congressmen manage our money, because
Eh, eh,
they don't have to chart. They get pretty good information. They don't care
Yeah,
about VWAPs, Tommy.
I
They
know.
don't
I know.
need
It is.
VWAPs.
Listen, I've been saying that I've been saying it's a bear market for competent political leadership in the U.S., and I'm an independent, former Republican. I would vote for either, someone competent in either party. And I would probably say I'm more pleased that Trump won from an economic point of view, and more pleased that he has Scott Bessent as his
Yeah,
Treasury Secretary, because I know Scott a bit, and I still think there's going to be tons of Trump chaos, which I like Trump chaos because it creates opportunities. Up and to the right is not bueno for my trading style.
yeah.
I'm not good at buying perceived breakouts because usually I buy the breakouts and I fail
They
on those.
fail.
But
They fail.
but the
Down
point
is
is,
fast. Down is faster. I love bear markets.
yeah, I can
I learned in a bear market.
I tend to find more long ideas in bear markets. I trade them with smaller size than I do with shorts. And that's
Okay.
the funny part is we were at our my old fund, my larger fund, we were short tons of financials starting in '07 and going through '08, no, in the beginning of '09. It was incredibly stressful, even when you were right
Yeah.
to be in those trades because you had some extreme bounces. You had Bank of America, which we were short a lot, moved up
Look at that 1 week move in B
90%.
of A, Tommy. You
Yeah.
know what? If if this wasn't happening in the banks, XLF, same story. I would say, okay, normal market correction. But if we're going to have trouble with banks, or banks are looking like this, I guess credit, they're starting to worry about some credit issues. And as far as the S&Ps are concerned, the whole market, I know you do a lot of sentiment work.
Yeah.
Is there enough bearishness? Not
No.
yet. Okay,
No.
that
You're
tells
you're
me
you're
something.
starting to see like a lot of people will look at the AAII poll. I don't. I actually don't like that poll because it gives people sort of an excuse. Are you bullish, bearish, or neutral? And
Yeah,
a lot of people will use the neutral button in there. And for me, I like to say, are you bullish or bearish? And I use the daily
period.
sentiment index. And the
DSI, yeah.
had it right up here.
Bernstein.
Let me see if I delete it. No, it's still here. Um, yeah,
Where's the DSI?
it's at 40.
Yeah,
It's
that's
at
not.
40. And
Yeah,
and the January lows got to 35.
I've seen
Um,
single digits in that DSI before.
I have too. And I've
Yeah,
tracked this for many, many years and I put it on you get my notes, you can see it every day. All the data's updated. It's only sentiment poll that's updated every day. So I think that oh, look at that. There I am.
here's your website.
Oh, cool.
So this is where you find Tommy, besides X, and
Yeah.
which he's not accessible.
And
Hedgefundtelemetry.com.
yeah, there we are.
Yeah.
And it's I will say this, we put out a lot of stuff. Oh, don't go through I've got a couple bugs in my site right now.
All
Oh my
right.
God. Look at that
Okay.
guy.
Well, then this one,
What happened
boy,
to him?
I don't
What
know.
happened to him?
You look like a very mature high school senior there.
Yeah, I've never grown out of that.
Anyway, good looking guy. So, tell me, I know where the trade. What's your overall vibe? Um, that the dollar's getting crushed. I think that theme continues regardless. There'll be bounces, but this was a real bad week. And
Yeah,
normally it would be positive for risk, and that's changed. So it's what I was talking about earlier, maybe outflows. So a weak dollar is not supportive of equities anymore.
yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
go ahead.
I mean, just looking at the dollar I mean, the dollar decline is fairly steep right here. I don't have any. I had a 106 support level on dollar index, and that
Yeah,
broke.
yeah,
That I think we could go a little bit more. I don't really have strong. I mean, we had sell signals, DeMark sell signals recently in the dollar, and I figured, we could see a pullback. I mean, Scott Bessent was a big fan of Shinzo Abe and spent a lot of time in Japan and made a fortune short yen. And I'm not sure if Scott's thinking we're gonna let the dollar fade. He said the typical US Treasury Secretary comment, we believe in a strong dollar,
yeah.
winking.
Well, that's not what his boss wants.
No, no, and he'll say that. And I think that be careful for what you wish for. But
Yeah.
dollar sentiment index right now is not oversold. It had been overbought. It was in the, it got up to 90% bulls. Now it's at 50% bulls. I tend to look at sentiment sort of like RSI in the sense that when you break 50%, you have the majority are now bearish. And
Okay.
if we break
Interesting.
through those levels, and we broke them in July under 50, and we know what happened then with yen. And if that is, occurring again, I think that's the risk
Uh,
here that we
uh,
could see overall on the markets. And maybe Trump and Besant, they are okay with a market correction. They're still in that honeymoon period that they can blame the previous administration, and which Trump is very
they're very
comfortable
good. Yeah.
blaming the previous administration.
Yeah.
And that's how I see it. But Reagan was pretty good in his first term. He allowed the markets to come down. We had a short recession,
Yeah.
and he killed inflation, and then we're off and running. And I'm not sure if they're trying to replicate that by design, but that could happen.
No, no, no. They're demanding lower rates. What killed inflation was the move by Volcker to take short-term rates to 20.
All right, but what happened is that they allowed the recession to occur, and
Right.
and the equity market had bounced with Reagan's when Reagan was coming in, and then it fell pretty hard. They allowed a recession, and rates started to come down. I mean that nothing is better for rates to go lower than a recession,
And that's
unfortunately.
what they said. They're focusing on the 10-year yield, so they need a recession for
Yeah. I
yields
mean
to come down.
that's been the joke. If you want rates to go lower, kill stocks.
Well, he said he's not watching the stock market yesterday. He's
Oh
not
yeah, I
watching
know
it now.
that. He's not watching. Okay, listen, Dale, I gotta run.
All right. Well, you know what? I like watching you on my programs.
Well,
So
thank you so much for having me.
anyway,
I
go
really
ahead,
appreciate
buddy.
it.
This is where you find Tommy, and he's got a lot of great information. You have letters and everything, or is it
Yeah,
just
got lots of stuff.
yeah?
Thank you.
All right. What's minimum to get
Mike,
into your fund?
Delfino, Tom is great. Oh, that is very nice. Checks in the mail to you, Mike. So if anybody wants a trial, just shoot me an email, info@hedgefundtelemetry, and I'll get you hooked up. And if you want
Okay.
to join, it's less than $100 a month.
Okay. Tommy Thornton, everybody.
All
Find
right,
him.
take care, guys.
Find him at Thomas Thornton on X. Thank you, buddy. Okay, everyone. That's a wrap. Huh? We made it. We made it, right? You like Tom? All right. He's busy. All right, everyone's Ingmar, Laura, all you guys. Hope you had a great week. If you haven't joined our community, uh, just do it. You can always leave if it's not working for you. Anyway, one good trade a month, how the community is going to, pay for a year. So anyway, have a great weekend, everyone. Remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. See you next week.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.